Okay, this story is called Substitution, or is it called Subdivision? This is Subdivision. I get them mixed up. I got two that are very different stories, but they're titled a little bit too similarly. And but this is just the intro for this little summation here. This was a fun one to write. This is one of my earlier ones in this group. I got a guy from San Francisco. I guess he's middle-aged. There's a little bit of mystery to him. His name is Judd. And but he's getting a little bit disenchanted with San Francisco. I think he's maybe a native, and things have gotten a little out of hand. He remembers when life was a little bit easier. Now you can't park at all. The weather's starting to bother him, which never bothered him before. And he wants just some warm, hot weather, more year-round. And final straw is his brother comes out to visit from Philadelphia, and Judd and his girlfriend then go out with the brother for dinner at a Peruvian place on Fillmore Street. And then something after that, whatever happened that evening, they announced to Judd that, I'm sorry, but I'm going to go with the guy back to Philadelphia. So, he tells them to basically go screw themselves. But then when the airport is picking them up, the next day, he gives them his blessing, and he figures it's, maybe it's for the best. And so he gets out of whatever he's in and starts hunting on Craigslist, and immediately finds a really good deal in Anthem, Arizona. And so he buys a house for cash because he's cashed out of San Francisco. Its prices are so much lower. It's like night and day. Probably like a quarter the price there, or maybe even less. And so he's able to buy a house for cash. The guy even has a pickup truck, Toyota pickup, in the driveway, which is running. He throws that into the deal. And so Judd is all set, and he moves down there. The reason he moves to Anthem, the reason it's appealed to him, is because there was a reality TV show that he enjoyed. And it was about a blended family. And during hard times, maybe after 2008, when everything kind of crashed, the main guy, the husband, the dad, was a contractor who built high-end homes down there in the valley, around Phoenix. And they were making a lot of money. The family would go out to dinner, and they routinely, several nights a week, go out, and $300 just for dinner for the family. There were 7 kids. It was a blended situation, the husband and wife. Each had custody, I guess. And then they had, but the show was pretty realistic. It shows them having to get rid of a lot of stuff, and they get foreclosed. They move into a rental house, and they can't do a lot of the things they could. The husband's got to get out there in the middle of the night and try to, fix a transmission in the garage to keep the car going. And he's got to pitch handyman services in the neighborhood. Actually, he was a high-end contractor builder. Now he's reduced to just walking around with little flyers. Do you need anything, any handiwork in the neighborhood? Do you need a faucet changed or something? So it was tough, but I thought the show, it did a pretty good job. And so I'm putting myself in my character's head. He enjoyed that show. And there were some kind of emotional moments where this guy is a little more of a real dad to the kids on the other side, the wife's kids, than their own biological father has been. And so at one point, one of the kids wants permission wants to ask him if she can start calling him dad. And that was pretty emotional. Judd gets choked up. He actually cried during the scene. But the bottom line is that the family in the show lives in Anthem, Arizona. So he kind of has it in his head. That would be nice. And then when this development happens with the brother and losing the girlfriend, and it kind of felt right. So he actually moves to Anthem, Arizona. And of course, then after a while, he asks around a little, is that family still here? But it turns out they'd moved. They'd moved to Mesa and maybe to Texas or something. And so that part didn't happen for him, but he likes it. He has a routine there, and he just sort of gets up, rides his bike over to the rec center. Everything's spanking clean. There's huge pools as part of the complex. It's an artificial community, but everything's there. And I myself am attracted to those kind of communities. Maybe if I lived there, it wouldn't. There would be something wrong. but it just sounds nice. You got everything taken care of. First of all, the weather's great. You can kind of live on a bike or walking around. You don't really need to rely on your vehicle unless you have to commute down to Phoenix. And they've got these really fantastic, sports facilities and multiple huge Olympic pools and spas and fitness center and and all that stuff. Everything perfectly air conditioned. There's modern library. And so the guy goes. He works out a little bit every day. Goes in the hot tub, shoots the breeze with people as long as he can take it. Then he moseys on over to the library. Perfectly climate controlled, comfortable leather chairs and everything. And he's got a little idea for a book, and he's trying to write this story, this fiction book, with mixed success, but he enjoys it. Then he comes home, usually takes a walk before dinner, has dinner, and then kind of dozes off in the recliner. I think he takes the walk after dinner, actually, through the neighborhood, looks at the red rock and the dry air, and then typically dozes off in the recliner watching TV. And then he kind of gets up and does it again the next day. So he's got a nice little thing. He's mysterious, but he seems comfortable. But one day he's been there, close to a year, and he comes home and he really doesn't know the neighbors. He doesn't interact. But this couple right across the street has a moving truck, and so he thinks, gee, what's going on here? They don't look too happy. So he goes over, tries to kind of help them out. Do you need anything? Can I help you move anything? And it turns out though they're actually getting foreclosed on. They've had some hard times, and they made a bad investment in some land, and they're getting screwed up. And they're one of kind of the original owners, husband and wife. Their kids are grown out of the house. The wife's younger than the husband, and is an attractive woman in this judge's estimation. But at this point, that has nothing to do with it. And but then you learn in the story that he has a background in real estate. And maybe he's made enough money where he could kind of retire. Who knows? Or he has some residual income as a result. But anyway, the thing is, he offers to help him because he understands the foreclosure business. He used to be in that. He used to be kind of a vulture foreclosure investor. And at one point, the couple is asking him about his life, and he mentions he worked with another guy, and they finally said, "What happened to the other guy? You're still working with him?" And then Judd lets it slip that no, that guy actually got murdered. I don't know. I just got a call one day he was murdered in his office in Hermosa Beach. So that now there's a little bit of an air of mystery cranked up a little bit, maybe a little bit of danger to this guy. He's a little more to him than he's letting on. But the bottom line is he understands the business. He goes to the courthouse. He looks up all the foreclosure filings on their property and realizes that the bank made one error along the way in the procedure, and that he could screw them up just by filing a piece of paper. He could make them start all over. And so now they have some negotiating power. So on behalf of the couple, he tries to negotiate with the bank to try to keep them there. And now they're slightly indebted to him and this and that. But that's basically it. It was, again, fun to write these things sometimes where you want to be where the character is. You want to enjoy that lifestyle. You want to have that simple kind of fantasy world where everything's very uncomplicated. You have a simple routine. You're in a nice hot desert climate, and everything's inexpensive. You don't have to really drive much. You've got fitness. You got pools every day, and nice hot tub, and people to talk to, and nice simple life. Probably wouldn't work, but it's fun to write that stuff sometimes and put yourself in somebody else's shoes. And then you throw in a couple of twists here with the couple and the foreclosure, and maybe a few things, a little bit of backstory about this guy that's maybe a little bit out there. Hopefully you keep the reader involved. That's all. And so that's the story, Subdivision. And it's not read to follow, but it's read by my good friend Joan Ambrosini. Did a tremendous job. And the link to that story, the audio story, is below. Okay, thanks.